Welcome back to Birdwatch. Today for the podcast we have Liz,
That's me.
Raph,
That's me.
all right, Jude,
Hi.
Frosty,
Present.
and me, your host Techno. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing excellent.
Fancy.
Yeah, I'm doing really good right now.
Drinking water, staying hydrated.
Yeah.
Always stay hydrated. Sponsored by
Always.
water.
Sponsored
I
by
got a
water.
bowl of milk.
Bowl of milk.
Nice.
When you're so poor that your household can't afford cups.
Milk bowl.
Like
Only for the most entitled.
So you have to borrow your cat's milk bowl.
All right, you guys ready to get started?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with Liz. What games have you been playing recently?
Alright, well, recently I have been emulating Paper Mario and a bunch of old Guitar Hero games. These are all games that I never really got to experience growing up. Paper Mario has been really enjoyable. It hasn't quite blown my mind just yet, but it's still extremely charming, and I've been really happy playing it for the most part. I just beat Chapter 4. If you've played it, that's the one with the Shy Guys and the toy box. That chapter wasn't the best, so I'm hoping the rest of the game will make up for it. And as for Guitar Hero, I'm having a hell of a lot of fun with that. I'm not the best, but I do pretty well on medium, and I hope to work my way up to expert at some point. I've been playing a whole bunch of them back to back because I only really like each game's set list, only about 30 to 40% of each game's set list. So, because each track list varies in terms of what bands and stuff are on there. So once I've gone through all the ones that I'm interested in playing, I'm basically just going to compile all the songs I like into Clone Hero and play that a lot once I've graduated from the standard Guitar Hero games.
Okay.
All right, that's good. I've only played like a Guitar Hero once, and it was so long ago, and I was probably 5, and I barely even remember it.
It died off hard, around the start of the 2010s. It's a shame, really.
I never really cared because I've always been really bad at it.
Oh, that's understandable.
I was always more of a Just Dance kid growing up, which I'm ashamed of.
Just Dance.
Just Dance was epic.
Dude, my favorite is 4. Just Dance 4 is so good.
The age gap is showing here.
What was the Mario one? What was the Mario one?
Oh yeah, no, it was Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix.
Yeah, that was Dance Dance.
And Waluigi was the main villain. I never played it, but I've heard good things about it.
I've only seen Waluigi from it.
Still can't believe they're still coming out on the Wii.
I actually think that the last one came out on the Wii either this year or last year. They ended support for it recently.
Yeah, I actually know why they were doing it, but it's because a lot of hospitals and stuff and things that were, in lower poverty areas where maybe people would want to play that or something, maybe help use it even for rehabilitation, they don't always have a lot of money to spend on gaming consoles. And they bought a Wii a long time ago because the Wii's cheap.
Right.
And so Just Dance was really popular. So it's okay, well, these people are using it. We're going to keep pushing it for this console, which is actually kind of cool. And I wish more companies did that.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's not something I can get mad at. It's great.
Aww.
I honestly just find it more funny that it's still coming out on the Wii, so now I just like it even more.
Yeah.
See, that was me with the DS, because there's no reason for stuff to still be coming out on any DS, really.
See, the only reason why I thought it kept coming out on the Wii, because I just think Wii is the perfect console for a game like that. That's the only reason why I thought it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only
It really
Connect worked.
Hey, remember the first Just Dance where you could just get points by shaking the Wiimote? You didn't even have to dance; you could just shake it up and down. And
You could do that on the Switch version of whatever Just Dance is there.
Oh no!
I'm not gonna lie, you could do that for just a lot of Wii games too. That's how the term waggling came about.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's what I did in Mario Party 8.
Speaking of Wii games, I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I finished it a bit ago, and man, you might not like the gameplay portion of it, but the story of Xenoblade is really fucking good.
I believe it.
I was honestly speechless. I had my mind blown in the later portions of the game. you at first you think like, oh, this game probably has all the plot twists. Like in the middle of the game, you probably think, oh, this game, all the plot twists have it dealt with. I know everything about the world of the Bionis and Mechonis, but
Mm.
yeah, late into the game, like you're not done with the story yet, and just play the game because it's really good. And after I beat that, I've been playing some Warzone with friends, which like
Warzone's really fun.
with two people. It's yeah, with multiplayer. I don't really play single player, but with multiplayer, it's really fun.
Yeah, honestly, I've never liked solos battle royale, but I think Warzone with some friends was easily my favorite battle royale. There's just nothing compared to it. The gunplay was satisfying. There was never ever this sense of like in Apex, like you needed to go and hunt down these other teams, like because they already had the good loot, and you kind of needed the good loot to win. Like you had a very low chance of winning with just the normal stuff you find. But in Warzone, it felt like a lot more put on your skill and your shoulders rather than the shoulders of the items you have. And yeah, there's some really OP weapons there, but a lot of it really comes down to your own individual aim
Yeah,
and prowess. And
especially
things like weapon drops, the money system that lets you buy stuff and revive your teammates, the gulag, everything just sort of fit together to make it really fun and fast paced. Where something like Apex failed because time to kill in Apex is so long, it's way too long. And then Fortnite, there's just something unsatisfying to me about the gameplay. Like it feels so
yeah,
much slower than a lot of these other games, and I think that COD really hit that right middle ground between fast-paced movement and fast time to kill, to where it doesn't feel cheap.
If it wasn't COD, I would be willing to try it.
See,
I
that's what
enjoy
I was
fast
thinking.
movement shooters.
yeah.
That's what I was
No,
thinking.
here's
And
the thing.
honestly, if it had been enough, I wish that Apex had been more like Titanfall, because if Apex would have been more like Titanfall 2, then Apex would still be huge and probably bigger than Warzone, just because like Titanfall 2 is that good
Right.
Yeah,
and Apex just doesn't live up to it.
Yeah,
I saw Funky's recent video about the state of movement shooters,
Oh
and
yeah,
Titanfall
Funk.
2
Yeah.
looked really, really good.
Honestly, buy the game.
I will.
I'm with
I
Funk.
will,
Buy the game. It is
definitely.
such a good. It's so worth it. I haven't played very much online. I've mostly played the single player, which honestly, from the looks of it, the multiplayer looks even better than the single player. But I can tell you right now, the campaign, the story, not the best story in the universe. Like it's whatever. It's a first person shooter story.
Hmm.
Usually those aren't amazing, but like it's still a decent story, and the
Yeah.
gameplay is excellent, and the level design is superb.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna definitely give it a chance in the future. How about you, Jude?
Oh, so I have recently, for the most part, been playing a lot of Tales of Vesperia, on Steam right now. A friend of mine gifted it.
Hmm.
It's been a lot of fun so far. I love the protagonist. I love the party members I've met so far. One of them's a little kid, and Yuri bullies the fuck out of him, and I think that's great.
Ooh.
I'm
Because
already interested.
as a wise man, Sakurai once told me, "Fuck them kids." No respect. So
wasn't
I
that like
agree with
Michael
Sakurai.
Jordan?
he also bullies old people. He has broken
Yes,
several laws. He has thrown rocks at knights. He said
Good.
eat the rich. I fucking
Good.
love this guy so
What a
much.
guy.
that is beautiful. I want him. He is
He's a
going.
Oh,
I want him to be my friend.
he's
Finally, an
He
my
sounds
RPG for
amazing.
Antifa to enjoy.
he's the guy in my icon right now. He's a very cool guy, and the only
Very
other
cool.
party member right now I've met, I don't remember her name, but she's this princess lady that doesn't know sarcasm. So imagine having an extremely sarcastic main character with like a love interest that doesn't know sarcasm. And I some fucking great interactions. I fucking
That's
love it.
beautiful.
Yeah,
A lot-
there's groundwork there for a very, very interesting relationship. I'm interested in seeing how it develops.
Yeah, the one other character I've met so far is this. Well, Yuri also has a dog that's in the party for some reason, but
Dog.
Oh,
I've
hell
met this
yeah!
old guy that
Can you
helps
pet
this
dog?
old guy that like helps you break out of prison. I love him a lot so far. It apparently ends up being important, so I'm excited to meet more of him.
Good, good, good.
The only other game I've been playing a lot recently is Minecraft with some friends of mine on a server. Um, I beat the Ender Dragon day one. It felt fucking great. Some people were upset that I killed the Ender Dragon day one, but you know, you can respawn them. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Did you cheat again?
I didn't cheat. I've never cheated in Minecraft.
We're not gonna go into how that's. Oh,
Serious?
me and Raph,
Yeah,
me
yeah.
and Raph, no.
You guys
We
know
have
enough.
suffered enough. We have
Yeah.
suffered too much.
Sounds like a very interesting
On the-
story.
To add a little bit more to that for Raph's thing, I also plan on playing Xenoblade soon because I was given it and I would love to be putting some time into it soon. So that's basically it for me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. What about Techno?
All right, the only game I've been playing recently, and I'm trying to 100% it, is Origami King.
Oh.
I really love that game. I haven't played a Mario game, Paper Mario game since like Super Paper Mario, Mario, and that was my favorite one.
All
I
right.
love everything in what's called Origami King.
Mm-hmm.
So charming. All the characters are nice. It made me feel bad for something that happened later in the story that I'm not going to spoil. The boss fight, the battle system got really like tedious after a while, and then the puzzles got like really difficult out of nowhere, and started getting easier. It was weird, but it was fun. I liked all the bosses. Everything about it was cool.
I'm really happy to hear that. It's part of the reason why I started Paper Mario this year, because I hadn't played any of the Paper Marios at all growing up. And I mean, number one, I just needed to fix that, and number two, Paper Mario Origami King was coming out. So I'm happy to hear that it turned out pretty well, and I'm looking forward to getting around to it. I'm gonna play Thousand Year Door and Super Paper Mario before Origami King.
No.
But when I do get to it, I'm glad to know that I'm in for a good time at least.
My first Paper Mario game was Super Paper Mario, and like, even though I never beat it, I really enjoyed that game. Just like the variety of characters, the story, and the development was just really good. And then as a kid, when I got my 3DS for the first time, I decided, hey, my first game and my only game for a while should be Paper Mario Sticker Stars. And I was a kid, so yeah, I enjoyed it. But then going back after seeing like a few people trying to play the game, I don't know how I enjoyed the game. Like some of the puzzles were confusing and like even for me now, like most actually as a kid, I needed to search up most how to fix most of the puzzles because like I feel like they didn't really give you an answer. Like you would just have to place a sticker in a specific spot and just pray and hope it's the right sticker and stuff. And you don't even need to battle. Like only the mandatory battle. But even then, you don't need. Even then, like you can find stickers in the overworld, which like renders battle useless because like you lose stickers and don't really gain much stickers. You only gain coins, which are used to buy other stickers, but you can get them in the overworld. So why would you do that? Which I feel like I think is an issue Origami King fixed. Cause like doesn't don't your like weapon? I know your weapons break and stuff, but like you can use and get an abundance of coins, but don't you need like coins to upgrade your stats and stuff, Techno?
What?
You need coins to upgrade your stats like attack or defense
In
Origami
no, you
King.
don't.
Oh, you don't?
Oh, okay.
You don't improve your stats at all. There's like heart containers that you find, and those improve your stats whenever you
Okay.
collect them.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting.
Well,
I've never played a Paper Mario game. I'm completely lost here. I'm not an RPG guy.
I understand.
yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, on the note of Paper Mario for a second, I almost played it when I was a kid. My brother used to pester me a lot about playing A Thousand Year Door, but as a kid I fucking hated RPGs unless it was Tales of Symphonia or Off. So any other game just sounded boring to me, so I just wanted to go back to playing Brawl.
Yeah, that's totally fair. RPGs aren't for everyone, and that's totally fine. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. For me personally, one thing that's really big for me that I really like is that sort of idea of like fast movement into different things, which is why ARPGs have always sort of appealed to me more than normal ones, because I feel like I end up being more active in it. Like I'm doing a lot more. I have to like it's not just managing things, but like
Mhm.
it's managing things while in a real-time system where I have to actively like guard everything and then counterattack, but it's not just like selecting options.
Yeah.
And that's sort of there's sort of that disconnect mentally for me,
Yeah.
where it's like the difference between being able to run around and actively like guard with just the press of a button and then go in and attack
Mhm.
versus like choosing it through drop down menus.
I understand.
And I think
And
I
that's
got
just always sort of played with me.
There
yeah,
are
I got
some
Yeah.
better advice for you.
RPGs with an active battle system, like Final Fantasy VII or Chrono Trigger, where your actions are timed and the enemy's actions are also timed. So that relies more so on quick, on the fly decision making. That might
Yeah,
appeal to you
and
a bit more.
I have been a lot more interested in those, especially Final
Good.
Fantasy VII R. But I
Mhm.
just don't have the money for that right now because that's
Yeah,
like that's an
Final Fantasy VII
expensive
R is
game.
more of an action RPG in comparison. The original was turn
Yeah,
based, but with that active battle system.
yeah. I'm honestly interested in both of them.
Mhm.
As for me, the game that I've been playing the most has been either TF2, you know, j-
Team Fortress or Titanfall?
both.
Oh,
I have Uh, I've been playing mainly Titanfall 2 to get mapping references for a map that I've been working on for the other TF2, and I've
ah,
been playing a lot of Team Fortress 2 because I've just been generally getting back into it. It's a game that I put a lot of my early PC gaming time into. That
mm-hmm.
wasn't a Lego game because I used to play the shit out of Lego games. Um, I seriously, Lego Lord of the Rings on Steam, I have like I think over 60 or 70 hours on that. That
That's
game
adorable.
rocks. It is
I
such a
respect
good
it.
game. It's not even available anymore. You can't buy it because they lost the licensing right to
Oh,
it. So
that's tragic.
That sucks.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, but I've been playing a lot of Team Fortress 2 just because like that's a game that I used to play a lot, and I sort
Right.
of fell out of it after some shit went down. I started playing games like Rainbow Six Siege, Titanfall for a little bit and stuff, and Titanfall sort of it got me back into Team Fortress. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing that a lot recently. We almost finished an MVM tour not too long ago in this server with
We
some of
did,
the
yeah.
people in this group.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been doing a lot of stuff playing creators.tf, Zombie Escape, Casual, thinking about getting back into sixes because competitive is a lot of fun in TF2,
Mm-hmm.
and working on a map. And let me tell you, it is difficult.
Oh, absolutely.
There is so much stuff that is unintuitive and doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense and is kind of glitchy or super jank. It takes forever and it's really draining. Like trying to actually make one, even with a reference or knowing what you want to do or full creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's so draining to really do it, even though it's fun.
It
Like
really does
you
push
really
you.
have to be in the right mindset, and you
Yeah,
have to push yourself to do it.
yeah, into the
Um,
perspective of a game dev, and like even though no content for TF2 has been put out in over 3 years, I mean, when you look at the kind of work that goes into just making a map, it's like you kind of understand
it's
why.
crazy.
Yeah.
And it makes it even harder because I'm a big fan of UEAK Crash, who's a map maker who's even got some of his maps in the game, most notably Koth Probed, which is that
Oh.
really weird like right angle map that was released back in Invasion,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. It's got a lot of interesting stuff in it, and I love his maps. They're so much fun. And he's got probably one of the single best tutorials just in general up on
Oh.
YouTube on how to make a map. And
Good.
it's not complete, and that's what kills me is that it's 3 chapters long, and it teaches you all of the major, like most of all of the major basics of how to set up like a really basic game mode. But then he stopped making it because he realized that mapping sort of was taking over his life, and after having a kid and also having a normal job, he was like, I can't keep doing this forever, so he stopped mapping now, leaving his thing incomplete, and it sucks because I've never been so
tragic.
engaged with something because all of the videos are sub 10 minutes, and he goes by at like a normal YouTuber pace instead of like those really slow tutorial paces that people usually go at.
Right.
So for someone like me that like I'll get bored of that really quickly, it made it super engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And to see it just not be around really anymore kind of sucks even more energy out of me for wanting to map, because it's like I never really learned how to do displacement mapping, so I have to do all this research with old tutorials that are for like Counter-Strike Source, or tutorials that are like written on the wiki and stuff. So I have to do a lot of my own research now, and
Right.
that's been difficult.
No, I understand. I hope you do stick with it, though. It sounds like a very interesting and fun creative endeavor, even if it's not fun 100% of the time.
Yeah, it's a lot like programming, though I think with programming there's like this different layer where obviously it's in a 2D space first off, and second off it's like
Mm-hmm.
I think the big difference between them is being able to see your results. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I've always loved about doing computer-based creative stuff and content creation on a computer compared to it in real life, is that I feel like it's a little bit easier to see some of your efforts really visualized the way you want them to be.
Right.
And that's one thing I've always loved about coding, is like just putting some words basically in a document and being able to have it do something. And I think the difference with mapping really is that when you have that and you've created that map and then you test it, honestly, unless you've changed a lot or added in some sort of game logic or something, it feels almost exactly the same. And it feels like almost nothing has changed. You'll have spent an hour or two setting up walls, making sure they're textured properly, even just with a dev texture that they're textured properly and that they're at the right angle and everything, for a minimal change that you don't even notice and you know exactly where you put it. And it doesn't feel that same way with programming and stuff for me. It's like when I make that change, it's always been for me more noticeable, and even if someone else won't notice it, I'll notice it.
Right.
And I think maybe that's just something that comes along with having spent more time in it, because I'm still relatively new to mapping compared to programming and coding.
I understand. Makes sense.
Well, I've hogged enough of my time, so I'm going to surrender it to someone else.
Well, I think that's
All
a
right.
good segue into the next topic, the key topic for today. Namely, we're going to be discussing video game remakes and their effect on the industry, whether or not they should be eligible for Game of the Year, as well as the effect of nostalgia on gaming. So, in that regard, is there anybody that wants to start off?
I guess I'll start off because, like, I feel like, well, in regards to should remakes be allowed to participate in Game of the Year, like, it depends on the type of remake. Like, if it's something like Resident Evil 4, how like it just got ported over and just got an HD enhancement, or Devil May Cry 3 on the Switch, where like, sure, it got some new gameplay, like you can switch weapons and guns on the go. Like, I feel like those games shouldn't be like eligible, since it's basically the same game as before with like one or two extra features. But like if it's something like, well, like Xenoblade, where like the UI got enhanced, there's a lot of quality of life changes, like, and with that logic also Persona 5 Royal, like both of them play completely differently from their base game. Plus they have a like epilogue. Like if there's a big enough change from the base game to the definitive edition or the royal edition or whatever the special edition is called, or the remake or whatever, like I feel like it should be allowed to participate in Game of the Year.
Yeah, so what I see Joker really talking about is the big difference is that a remake, at least in gaming terms, isn't super well defined, because there's tons of things. There's a remake, a remaster, a recreation,
and a port.
there's
It's
a
easy
porting.
to get the terms mixed up.
Yeah, because like Final Fantasy VII R, for instance, that's like not just a remake. I consider that like a recreation. They
More or less, yeah.
They completely built it from the ground up
And
using just a vague framework from the original. I would 100%,
very small section of the original game into a 30-hour
full-sized game
experience.
I would say that would 100% be a game that would be eligible for Game of the Year, because it's basically its own standalone thing. However, even with I haven't played Persona 5 Royale or the new Xenoblade. I might just straight up not, because I don't know if I'll get around to it with them being full-priced games on systems that I don't usually interact with a whole lot. But from an outsider's perspective, those games, while there are major differences, to me, don't seem major enough to maybe qualify them for a game of the year,
I agree.
unless it was their own category for remake of the year.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the thing, is that from an outsider's perspective, or at least from my outside perspective, these games keep a very similar graphical style, just updated to HD. They keep a lot of the same components and a lot of the same feel,
Yeah.
at least visually, like looking
Yeah.
at it, even with UI changes. UI, while it is something that's noticeable, isn't often something that's huge, since it'll still function usually the same way. Just because it looks different doesn't mean it acts different. And now Joker did say that they play very differently, and that's something that I can't attest to or deny because I haven't actually played them.
Yeah.
But from an onlooker's perspective, I really don't think that they should be considered unless it was their own category, just because they look and sound so similar to the original.
From what I've seen and what I know, because I'm not as familiar with Xenoblade, but Xenoblade is more of just a remastered port than a remake, and Persona 5 Royal is more so just an updated version of the original game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really call either of them remakes at all. Games that I would call remakes would be like the new Resident Evil remakes, the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask 3D, Link's Awakening 3D, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Those are the games that I would consider to be remakes. But nowadays, it is getting harder and to distinguish between them, and it's easy to just get them mixed up because we're getting
Especially
a bunch of ports from games that haven't even come out that long ago, like The Last of Us, for example. That's a quote-unquote remastered version, and while I can't exactly compare the graphics, at the same time,
it looks almost the same.
It looks
almost
the same. Yeah, I'm sure
and
there's
I
a
bet
bunch
you
of
it feels exactly the
details, but yeah, there's not a whole lot that's been changed, I imagine.
And that's where it starts to get difficult, is that now I feel really it's companies trying to rebrand older games that maybe didn't sell as well or were super popular or have a cult following, and sort of rebrand them while putting in somewhat minimal effort to try and say, okay guys, here you go, buy this. Obviously there are some definitive edition for Xenoblade that looks like it had a lot of effort poured into it.
Oh, absolutely. They overhauled the visuals,
but something
and
like
everything.
Persona 5 Royale, I don't know a whole lot about it, but it
that
looks like
been DLC.
Persona 5 didn't come out that long ago.
It's only a 3-year-old
game. Especially compared to Persona 4, which just straight up got ported to Steam. Persona 5 got a full basically second game, and I don't think it entirely deserved it. I mean,
think so
just because I think it could have been, like you said, DLC or some sort of expansion, and people would have bought it.
Yeah, absolutely. But they made it into a full $60 game, and even as a person that enjoys Persona games, that does not sit right with me. But that is getting a bit off track. Personally, I am mixed when it comes to remakes. I think that as of right now, they are in a fine place, but I do worry about them becoming too common. I don't think we get too many remakes, at least as of the time of this recording. I think we get maybe 2 or 3 notable ones each year. And I've seen people argue that they would rather see new things and worry that the industry is just regurgitating the old instead of moving forward. And I would agree with that notion if, again, they were more commonplace and they don't hold back the most important factor of video games that needs to continuously evolve, which is gameplay. The Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes and the Final Fantasy 7 remakes are both examples of remakes that continue to push their respective genres forward in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
And both
100%.
franchises are continuing to come out with new titles as well. Like Resident Evil 8 has already been confirmed as of the time of this recording, and it's going to play more like Resident Evil 7 with its first-person perspective, as opposed to Resident Evil 2 and 3's over-the-shoulder perspective. Now, if they do end up becoming commonplace, or games that don't really need a remake start getting remakes, that's when I'm going to get worried. Like that Ratchet and Clank remake that came out back in 2016 on the PS4, it's a big example of an unnecessary remake. And there's also...
But that was more like a reboot to the series.
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess that, once again, another term that just starts to muddy the water even more. Reboot.
All these rewords. And there was that Resident Evil 4 remake that they confirmed is in development, despite the insistence from the fans that a remake of Resident Evil 4 was not necessary. So if remakes continue to head in that direction, then yeah, I'm going to be worried. It's going to be a problem. Because that's not bringing anything new to the table, nor are they recontextualizing those games in a more positive light. They are just cashing in.
Yeah, that 100%, definitely. And I mean, I think there's a lot of games that weren't maybe released so like long ago, or are part of popular series that could totally use a remaster. Like, I was talking about this yesterday with Enya on the server. About Counter-Strike Source, and honestly, I would love to see Counter-Strike Source ported and made newer, because that is legitimately one of the most fun multiplayer games that I've played, and easily the best Counter-Strike game. It makes Counter-Strike Go look watered down, and comparatively, Counter-Strike Go just like does not stand a chance.
I believe it, and I want to see that happen.
Yeah, Counter-Strike Source is something that I would love to see be ported to Source 2, and it's something that I think definitely deserves it. You know what? That also reminds me of Halo getting the remasters. That's something that's important that I think it has been doing great and shows great promise, honestly, for remasters coming forward and remakes coming forward, especially because they're still working on a new Halo game.
Yeah.
After all this. Call of Duty going back to sort of Modern Warfare and stuff. Honestly, once again, not a bad change. I personally have liked it. A lot of my friends have brought up that it was really fun. You know, I'd be interested to see where a lot of these companies are going to go now that they've sort of gone back to where they were their most successful and sort of like started rebuilding themselves. I'm excited to see where they're going to go from here.
I'm not 100% confident, because much like
anything,
anything,
I'm definitely not.
Yeah, they're gonna run it into the ground, much like just about every trend in video games. It's just gonna get run into the ground, I think.
Which is a shame.
Truly. But I do like it in the sense that remastered games coming to platforms that they weren't originally on, like Persona 4 Golden and the Halo Master Chief Collection coming to PC. I think that is great, and I want to see more of that happen.
Yeah, 100%.
And as for whether or not I think they should be considered Game of the Year, yeah, again, they should only really be considered Game of the Year if they recontextualize the original game's gameplay in a more modern way, like those Resident Evil remakes and Final Fantasy VII Remake. If it's just updated to the visuals, then no, it's an overly glorified remaster. It should not be considered at all. But if they are recontextualizing and modernizing the gameplay, I'm all for that. I'm cool for that. They absolutely should be recommended for Game of the Year. Any other thoughts?
If I could provide my own example.
Oh, please.
In general, my kind of opinion with this thing is that, imagine an outdated game. Well, I'm going to use Final Fantasy as my first example, and with its remaster, where it changed up the gameplay, because the old gameplay doesn't line up with newer titles.
Right.
And a lot of fans wanting to replay that old experience with the newer game's better gameplay. So it's like, that's like the main reason why I want a Symphonia remake, and I think if that happened, that deserves a Game of the Year nod. Where Symphonia's gameplay is extremely outdated compared to the newer game. So giving it a remaster and changing things up is completely justified and almost a new experience. So it would be amazing to see.
Yeah. And I also think, now that I think about it, that it shouldn't overwrite the original game too, and that's another reason why I think distinguishing itself with its gameplay is important, because I don't think a remake should overwrite the original, because the original Resident Evil 2 and the updated Resident Evil 2 are two very different experiences that are both very enjoyable. But yeah, that's all the more reason why it's important to recontextualize that gameplay.
Yeah, it's called a remake for a reason. If it
Exactly.
plays exactly the same, it's not a remake.
No, not at all.
It's just a port.
Mhm.
It's just a port.
Yeah.
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 It's just a port, but it looks prettier, and that doesn't deserve that kind of praise, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah.
I agree.
The only remake I'm like really iffy on is like Resident Evil 3, the Resident Evil 3 remake, because like it feels so watered down compared to the original game, and I don't like that.
I understand.
It's like, ugh. And then it was really short too.
Yeah, that is
I
what
just
I've
didn't
heard.
like it.
I understand. I haven't played the new remake of 3 yet, and I did play the original Resident Evil 3, but I wasn't super big on the direction it went in. It feels like it was more action focused than survival focused, and so the controls just don't make as much sense to me
Yeah.
then in that regard. So I didn't get through the whole game. I wasn't really enjoying myself. But I do believe the people that are comparing it to the original and saying that it does feel watered down. And I heard that there was some content that was cut. I'm not big on that at all. I don't think there's much of an excuse for the content to be cut, anyways. Other than they wanted this out within a year of Resident Evil 2 remakes. So, yeah, that's another thing too. Don't cut corners in remakes either. If you're gonna do a remake, go all the way and make sure it's able to stand up to the original on its own as well.
A successful remake should be able to take this old game
Mhm.
and add more things to it, change the experience. And in general, if it feels like the same experience, why bother getting the remake when you can just play the original again, you know?
Exactly.
Exactly.
You can keep the characters, you can keep the scenarios the same, but it needs to feel different on a gameplay perspective.
Yeah, and even then, adding new content to the game would also be great. It's like
Mm-hmm.
new DLC for that old game packed into a package that's even better. That'd
Exactly.
be amazing to see. It's like
Mhm.
adding new side quests.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I heard that in Vesperia's Definitive Edition, there's literally a new party member that wasn't in the original game.
Right.
And so that kind of stuff is such a welcome change to like make your game different.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And I guess on the topic of nostalgia for a second, a lot of people say it's nostalgia baiting, and I honestly, I kind of get it completely.
Mhm.
I do think, where am I going with this? Yeah, never mind. I have nothing for
No,
this.
no, no. I understand. I understand. Nostalgia is an extremely strong force when it comes to video games. In fact, I feel like that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why Nintendo's brand is so strong to this day. And I mean, it's certainly a major factor as to why I have gotten every single console and handheld of theirs since the GameCube. It
Yeah.
has nostalgia has a big effect on any medium, and it can be easily exploited. Star Wars, but at the same time, I do believe
Nice.
that it can be used to great effect, and it can create a truly worthwhile experience. That's how I felt about the Final Fantasy VII remake. Despite a lot of complaints from the fans, it still resonated with me extremely on an emotional level, and it really played with my feelings within a very effective means of storytelling. I think nostalgia is great, but it's important not to bank solely on it, but it is also not important to not base your interests and expectations solely on it either. So that you have a
Yeah.
clear perspective when it comes to giving a new experiences a chance.
Because one thing about nostalgia is like one thing with the new Battle of Bikini Bottom remake is that it was so similar to the original game. People are complaining.
Yeah, and it's like I do understand that. Honestly, that Bikini Bottom remake feels more like a remaster. That's another thing.
Yeah.
It plays back into how difficult it is and how muddy those terms are. But and that might be a point against it. But still, the remake itself still looks good, and I think the fact that it plays exactly the same as the original, it's not a bad thing, and that experience is available on more systems so that more people have a chance to give it a shot. But I mean, still, I don't think it should be recommended for Game of the Year or anything, and
Yeah.
calling it a remake is more so just calling it an overly glorified remaster at that point. That's when the term becomes redundant.
Yeah, because not everyone has enough money for a game. now, and
Yeah.
not everyone's okay with the idea of emulating. So
Yeah.
bringing these new games, as long as you're not porting, like selling it as a new experience when it's really not, it's just HD remaster for new fans, then it's completely fine.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's
totally
honestly a
completely
good
fine.
choice.
Mm-hmm.
And what was I gonna say? They did add new content to the Battle of Bikini Bottom port.
They
It's
did, yeah.
I heard it's not that good, got
Mhm.
content wise, but like it's just multiplayer stuff. It's new stuff anyways. Have fun with it if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah, yeah.
It's better than not getting any new content at all, and I think it just in general makes it
Like-
worth the price, even if it is an old package.
Mm-hmm.
like similar. Like I feel like that stuff is similar. Like from going from, well, not really like graphically, but like going from Mario Kart 8 to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like there, even though there's no DLC, they included all the DLC from going from like Mario Kart 8 to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They included all the DLC from Mario Kart 8. They added new characters, and they actually revamped the battle mode. Sure, not as many people still play battle mode, but like compared to what it originally was, like
Mhm.
you're literally on part of the track in balloon battle.
Yeah.
Like not even a whole map dedicated to battle. It's literally a track that you race on. That's the battle mode thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to say, yeah, these terms really do fucking suck.
They
Because,
do. They're not
like,
Yeah.
explained well at all.
100%.
At least,
Deluxe
no,
could
well, I
almost
feel
fall under these terms, and that's why these terms are fucking awful and need to be changed. If Deluxe
I
can
mean-
almost fall under these in some ways.
Yeah.
New Super
mean-
Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Yeah.
Oh,
fuck that
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
It's what did it add? What did it add? 2 characters. That's
It-
all it added.
Did it add a new character? I just thought it was a compilation of.
No, actually no, 1 character. It added Toadette,
It did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fantastic.
Wait, weren't
and it's
you
Deluxe.
were you and
Hmm.
Luigi U combined already, or did it just do
Yeah,
that for the
they were.
Deluxe?
Yeah,
They were.
Oh.
they released ports of it with the Luigi stuff.
No. So
On Wii
like,
U, I mean.
I think it came. I think it at first they were separate,
They were,
but
yeah. And then Luigi
yeah,
was
and then
DLC,
afterwards they just
and then they came all together in one package.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
And then
pretty
it was
lame.
repurposed for Deluxe, yeah.
Man, just
Yeah.
get Luigi U. It's a way better game, and you can probably get it for dirt
Yeah.
cheap with how interesting the Wii U was.
If you still have a Wii U.
Yeah.
one port I do hope that happens on the Switch sometime is like with online, which would be godly, but you know how Nintendo is with online, they either don't do it or it's ass. Like it's Super Mario 3D World. Like just imagine being able to play with friends,
Mhm.
like
I would
doing
hate that.
doing a party together.
I hate
fucking
that
each
game
other.
in multiplayer.
I fucking
Oh,
love
it's
that
godly.
game in multiplayer.
It's
I
godly in
despise that.
multiplayer. Bro,
I've
like,
played
just-
it in multiplayer. It is terrible. I'd
Just the
rather play
constant-
with just me or maybe like only like one other person. But anything
Just
more
yelling-
than 2 people is terrible.
Just yelling at someone for ruining the level, for like making us lose the level,
Mm.
or just being so glad that someone clutched up and got to the end without dying. It's just a fun experience, which is probably why like I like playing Warzone so much. It's like though in like playing with friends in that regard is very similar. Like having some yelling at someone for messing up, having some being so like filled with adrenaline as you're the last person alive and you're doing a hard level or stuff. It's just really fun.
Yeah, I could honestly see a 3D World port coming soon. I honestly think it's probably gonna happen. But would that
If
be
it did, I
nominated
would
for
hope
Game of
there's
the
no
Year?
split screen.
But like, hell no, it should not be nominated for Game of the Year if that were to happen.
Yeah, no, not at all. Like even if they added a new character and stuff, or a whole new world, like an extra world, like yeah, I don't think it should be Game of the Year.
No, yeah, I agree.
Also, speaking about ports and stuff, I feel like some games deserve to get like ports or remastered if like the if like if for 2 things. If one, it's very hard to get the game on the original console, it's located in, or it's way too expensive, like Persona 5 Royal per se, or like the gameplay just limits due to the gameplay stuff. It just limits the how like the game is played. Like I feel like Skyward Sword, like in my opinion, I feel like a Skyward Sword port to the Switch would work really well since like the Joy-Cons work much better than the Wii remotes. That regard, like how you
That's
can,
up for debate.
like with 1-2 switch, like you literally you literally tilt the Joy-Con and it emulates a box with balls in it. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that with those Joy-Cons, much better to make Skyward Sword actually like feel like run well, like not having you mess up due to the poor controls and stuff.
Right.
Like there's literally a sword fight mode in 1-2
Well,
Switch,
I don't
which
know
is
about
very
the differences in technology with the Wiimotes and the Joy-Cons, but I do know that Skyward Sword is tied so heavily to the Wii Motion Plus that I do think that there's going to need to be some major revamping with the controls to the point where it might need to be some kind of remaster if it does ever come to the Switch.
that's the thing. There's a sword fight mode in 1-2 Switch, which
Yeah.
plays very similarly to how Skyward Sword how it works with the sword,
Right.
like swinging vertically and stuff, holding it up. It's very similar to how to Skyward Sword. But yeah, like certain games, I feel like deserve ports depending on limit the gameplay that's very limited, but due to future technologies can be made better, or just like not being accessible enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we could get Skyward Sword on Switch, or we could get Sonic and the Black Knight and make it a good game. Why are you booing me? I'm right.
Oh boy. I'm not allowed to drink during this podcast.
It'd be fucking great to see. I'd love that. Just make it a good game. It has a great art style, a great
honestly,
soundtrack. Make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on, Nintendo or Sega.
Nintendo.
Leak the game.
Come on, Nintendo. Buy Sonic already.
Yeah, buy Sonic.
Nintendo.
Make
Sonic is
make
waiting
it.
for you.
Actually, on ports again for a second, there's another thing. When it comes to older franchises that have been dormanted for a long time, I see people asking for ports of those older franchises to Switch. I'd honestly just rather get a new game in those dead franchises than ports. Like, when it comes to stuff like Jet Set Radio, I see people saying, let's get a Jet Set Radio port, when, like, I would just rather get a new game.
Not to mention, it's on Steam, and pretty much anyone can run it because that came out in the late 90s, so...
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to at least older franchises that don't have new games coming out right now, I'd much rather just make the franchise alive again with a new game rather than a port.
I agree. I think that people need to lighten up when it comes to emulation, and, yeah.
So basically, like what Shin Megami Tensei did, they're doing a sequel and a port.
Yeah.
Big brained.
Extremely big brain.
Actually, yeah,
really
like
I want to play the games now.
It's really big brain. It's so big brain. Like especially when you think that it's Atlas who did that. The same people who charge full price for Persona 5 Royal when like it's worth like I don't know $30. Like
that's
like,
at most.
Honestly, if you play Persona 5 and go into Royal, I feel like it's worth only $30. Like at most.
It
like,
should have just been
sure,
DLC.
the quality of life changes are cool and all, and the third semester is amazing, yeah. But like, you're still getting most of the game is just improvements off the base game.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like it's only worth $30 for people returning from Persona 5. However,
I got it on sale for $40. I don't know when I'll play it, but
like if you're playing it for the first time, oh yeah, I feel like it's definitely worth $60.
Yeah, I'm
that's
thinking about getting the new SMT game. Not getting the remastered game. I just
3 Nocturne.
is it the kind of game that you should play in order, or am I good
No,
to just go with it?
each one is a standalone entry. I will
Okay.
let you know, however, that they are known for being notoriously difficult. So bear that in mind when you are making your decision. I definitely
No,
think the series
Yeah.
needs to be supported, but
I find
just
it
bear that in mind.
yeah, I
to
find
be
it
fair,
hilarious that there is DLC for that game, Nocturne,
Yeah, yeah.
for an easy mode.
The easy mode is paid DLC, and I think that's
I hate it.
amazing.
you know what? Compared to myself, 3 of my favorite games are considered butt hard by a lot of people, so I'm sure I wouldn't mind it that much.
All right,
Okay,
that's the enthusiasm I like to hear.
yeah.
So, do you think we're going to transition to the next topic, or is there more we want to spread out with this?
I think we're good.
That was real.
Yeah.
That was
Next
real.
topic is going to be discussing the recent huge Nintendo leaks that have been coming
Yeah,
out
it's
about
been
their
fucking
classic
crazy.
games, mainly from the N64 era.
Yeah. And some like Super SNES, like that Yoshi sprite. I'm glad they changed it.
Yeah.
Actually,
I do love old Yoshi. He's a big cutie. But
Yeah.
new Yoshi's a lot better.
Yeah.
yeah. Bro, imagine that old Yoshi as a full-fledged Smash character.
It's so
Like
interesting comparing the old Yoshi because if you've ever seen, he was originally planned to be in the original Super Mario Bros. And there's actually a sketch Miyamoto did of 8-bit Mario riding the Yoshi as he was, like he's like long and lanky in his 8-bit form, and they translated that to the artwork for Super Mario World, and I think that's just fascinating. I
Yeah,
love seeing this stuff.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's so fascinating, and it's kind of on the topic of nostalgia again, is that
Yeah.
we're seeing these things from our childhood, and we're seeing the things that never was. It's like we
Yeah.
could have
that
had
is
all this
real.
stuff.
Mm.
Like we could have
That
been
is real.
playing Luigi multiplayer with our siblings growing up.
We could have, yeah.
So
I don't
it's
know
just
how it
really-
would have worked, but
Yeah, probably split screen, or maybe they do what the original Mario games did, where you take turns. But
Yeah,
it's just
maybe.
it's really nice to see, and seeing these like renders and stuff in high quality, like all the
and
artwork
beta
we've seen
builds, yeah.
Yeah, like have you seen all that
Yeah.
like Legend of Zelda artwork that we've been seeing
You
in
have
high
no
quality now?
idea how
It's
much
so
that
good.
Ocarina
Oh,
of Time
and, like-
artwork is blowing my mind.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we're seeing all these old audio files in like crisp quality, like the So Long Gay Bowser. It's so fucking nice having that.
Uncompressed do a barrel roll. I love it.
Yeah.
The dual barrel.
Too bad
Oh, I
we-
can't wait to use that more.
And
Too bad
these
there's-
leaks- Huh? Oh, you first, Raph.
Yeah, too bad there was no DK rap uncompressed.
God, it is genuinely a tragedy.
Yeah,
It
one
hurts so
thing that
much.
these leaks have made me realize is how fucking powerful and dedicated the internet is sometimes.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
Watching Ellis Real unfold, where people were putting him
Yeah.
together, that
Mhm.
people were making
Yeah.
rumors, people were
Army
making
Bite.
Mhm.
all this shit was happening, and it was insane.
It was
makes me
insane.
It
The
I
timing
feel like
and all
the
of
biggest
this.
fucking
Yeah.
the biggest fucking coincidence that like
It came
it
out
happened 24 years and a month
1 month.
after Super Mario 64 came out. Like
It was absolutely
How?
planned, and I can't thank whoever did that enough for doing that. Like,
Yeah, I have no doubt it was
God.
planned, but thank you.
Like,
That's fucking perfect.
That's
I feel
so
like they
perfect.
did. I feel like they found it like maybe let's say like when the first like SNES leaks came out. Like what like there was a series of leaks beforehand before the huge N64 one, and I feel like they found it, and then they realized that like
The
if they do
timing
it
was
in
coming
July,
up. Mhm.
yeah, the timing for absolute perfection was coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. If I could say one thing that disappointed me about all this, and it's not the games that were missing, it was the game that was almost there. So it was Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask that almost got DLC, right? Which one was
Yeah,
it?
so what was going to happen was that originally Ocarina of Time was going to be getting a add-on for the canceled Nintendo 64 disk drive. It was going to be it was tentatively called Ura Zelda, and that was repurposed into the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Master Quest, which is a mirrored version of the original Ocarina of Time with completely remade dungeons, and that was put on the collector's edition for the ports on the Nintendo GameCube, and it was also incorporated on Ocarina of Time 3D on the 3DS.
Yeah, about that, it's like we had the files, they were there, but less than like 10% of the files were intact apparently.
Yeah.
And that's so sad. We were so close to seeing what this would have looked like, but it was just gone.
Some of it was repurposed for Majora's Mask, it looks like.
That is nice. That it's not completely gone.
Yeah, it wasn't completely gone. That's what I understand. That's what happens with a lot of cut Zelda content, because and this is also why I'm really hoping that we see some GameCube era stuff. But Wind Waker is notorious for having a bunch of cut content that was later repurposed into dungeons and later Zelda games, and I am hoping that that cut content is still there in some way, shape, or form. I would love to see that. I would kill to see that.
Yeah, that'd be fucking great. On the topic of that stuff, is there any games in particular you guys would like to see the builds when it comes to N64 or GameCube or Wii?
Mainly the Sunshine, Mario Sunshine, and Wind Waker.
Yeah, or Galaxy. Maybe Galaxy, honestly. Like,
what Galaxy would be cool too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want that enemy back. Oh, sorry for
Sunshine
interrupting.
one?
No, from the 64 model. That one, like, I wanted a bomb enemy.
Oh yeah, the
oh
bomb
yeah,
guy.
that was that was the
the cut enemy.
I can't remember what his name was, but you know that thing in Wet Dry World where if you step on it, it flips you up in the air?
Yeah.
That was the beta version of that.
I want those back.
You mean the human brain diagram?
Oh god, we're not getting into that. No, I'm not. We're not discussing the Mario 64 iceberg today. No.
But yeah, as the generic Nintendo fan I am, I think my most wanted to see would be the Smash series. Getting to see, like, for one thing, getting to see Smash 64's, wasn't it called like Dragon Fighter or something?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Somehow getting to see that would be amazing. It would confirm the theory of whether or not Captain Falcon was based off of that. But
he definitely was.
Yeah, but it'd still be cool to see early Falcon as well. But getting to see like everything that was cut, like Bowser and Deity's models, how they might have played as.
Yeah.
With Melee,
or Final Smashes.
The hell in Melee, because we haven't heard everything about Melee's development. We just know it was hell.
Yeah.
And Brawl is the most interesting one to me, and I want that one the most. Because there's 7 fighters that apparently had a lot of work done on them that were cut.
Yeah.
Well, apparently 7. I think one of them was honestly like the random slot, but 7 technically.
Yeah.
So getting to see those would be fantastic, and I would just love to see all that.
I definitely agree. Definitely.
And
I do know that we've seen the screenshot of like the very, very early footage from before it was even Smash Brothers, where like the background was some picture taken in Japan. Yeah. I do know that those models
and everyone was kind of like Captain Falcon.
Yeah, they were repurposed into the fighting polygon team, and that is what Captain Falcon's model and moveset was originally based off of.
Yeah, and didn't
I used to remember the name.
Wait, I just remembered. They were also gonna put like Final Smashes in N64.
Yeah.
Sakurai revealed that in the Min reveal.
Yeah, we could see whatever the hell was left of those, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's just so much unseen content. There's so much stuff about these games from our childhoods that we just don't know anything about. And I just think it'd be so great to see all that.
And that's always been crazy to me, because as someone who's like a PC gamer and specifically a big Valve fan, it's like, it's still sort of weird to me to have all this stuff be coming out now, because a lot of the Valve stuff is pretty public, especially now after some of the source code leaks. It's like all that stuff is super public. Like people already knew all the secrets behind every map, every character model. Everyone knew like almost everything about the game except for like a few specific values, which people now know.
Yeah, and Nintendo are definitely not Valve.
Nintendo just keep that door
very close-minded when it comes to like beta stuff. Like they won't completely keep their mouths shut. They will talk about like development of games and stuff, but when it comes to actually showing this kind of stuff off, they for whatever reason they keep that stuff locked up tight in a vault. I don't really understand that mindset. I can respect that, but when this stuff gets shown off, I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna like enjoy seeing this kind of stuff. And part of me thinks it's like it comes from a sense of shame almost. That it's not polished, it's not perfect, and that's why they don't want this stuff coming to light. But at the same time, I think that's the appeal, and I think they should not be self-conscious about this kind of stuff and be more open about it, because there is interest there. There are lessons to be learned here, and what better ways to teach about game development and stuff like that than looking at these early builds of some of the greatest games that have ever been created.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing with Nintendo is it's usually the individual developers that are fine with showing their beta content.
Yeah.
Nintendo as a whole, it's like the Sakurai and Nintendo thing. A lot of the mainline Nintendo games, they ain't gonna say shit about.
No.
But Sakurai, he's fine with saying
He's
stuff about his old
constantly
games.
giving interviews about it, yeah.
And it's so interesting to see him talking about the cut characters, cut game modes, cut everything we could have done it.
Mm-hmm. It
And it's like,
absolutely
I
is.
wish more developers did that, you know?
I definitely Japanese ones, and Nintendo's especially. Western developers are a lot more open about that stuff, and I think that's great. And I really do wish that Japanese developers would take a lesson from that. It's definitely a cultural thing. I'm not gonna sit here and make assumptions. I'm not gonna pretend that I know everything about Japanese culture and everything. But I definitely do feel like it stems from a sense of shame. From like a Japanese cultural sort of feeling or perspective.
I think another okay comparison would be like taking Hat in Time, which had a ton of cut elements. The creators were super open about that and like letting the assets be on the internet. But you compare it to like other games out there. Of course, it's an indie game. So
Yeah.
But
But
comparing it to
still.
other big games out there, it's just so interesting to see how tight they are compared to smaller game companies.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a thing. Maybe smaller game companies take pride in showing off beta elements. I know if I made a game, I would show off my fun fact beta element stuff.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. I think that if I think it's fascinating, I know other people would think it's fascinating. So by all means.
I also feel like it'd be a lot of fun. Like, imagine if I made a fighting game. I'd be like, "Hey guys, look at this character that was almost in," and I'd
look at all
my
these
reasons why
beta
I would fight.
designs and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Old
and showing
concept
off, like,
artwork,
beta
it's great.
Like there's a lot of game characters that I wish I'd seen the beta designs for. Like Lloyd, I wish I'd seen his beta design, but it's not on the internet.
No.
And I just want that kind of stuff. And seeing Yoshi's and all these characters' beta designs is just so cool to see like what could have been.
Yeah. It's amazing, and I really do wish that Nintendo would just be more upfront about this stuff. I really, really do. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, cut content, beta stuff has always been some of my favorite piece of media. I've always just loved lost media in general.
Yeah,
So
me
just,
too.
like, seeing all this cool stuff would be so cool, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Show us the Mario porn movie, damn it. We want to see it.
Oh yeah, that does exist, doesn't it? Nintendo bought the rights for it so that no one would ever see the light of day.
It never will. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that,
I'm
yeah.
very okay with that.
Yeah.
But Beta Yoshi could have been in it.
I feel like if Nintendo could, they would bury the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I would if I could.
Yeah, if I made that, I would fucking set it ablaze.
No, yeah, I understand completely.
How involved were Nintendo with the making of that movie?
Probably not that much.
Yeah, no, probably not that much. They probably just signed up on the screenplay and that's it, honestly. And, like, considering how very, very different from the source material it was, they definitely regret it.
Yeah, because
That's probably why that.
Remember that
continue.
Zelda movie that was gonna be like by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle guys, I think?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would have been so cool to see. The one demo they put out looked so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it would have been taken seriously. Maybe it would have been good. But Nintendo's been kind of iffy about handing out properties, and I understand.
Yeah.
After,
They're only just now relaxing that, sort of.
Yeah, and seeing after what happened with the CDI games, I kind of understand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, getting like a movie for all these properties, sure, it's kind of unneeded, but honestly, I feel like the only reason why video game movies have such a bad reputation is because
They don't put any effort in.
They don't,
like
no.
other companies that don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Number one, it's kind of hard to translate gameplay to a medium that's primarily visual. And then
Well,
number
they've been
two,
taking a lot of bad game to movies. They've been choosing games that really wouldn't mesh well as movies. And there's so
That
many
too, yeah.
games that are so close to movies that would probably be better as movies. But no, they're going to choose the games that would work terribly as movies. And
Yeah.
then, big surprise, they work very poorly as movies.
Yeah, and then the other aspect is just a complete and utter lack of either understanding or respect for the source material.
I'm glad the new Mario movie's under close inspection by Nintendo.
Yeah, me
But
too.
it's being made by Illumination, so I'm like,
I am
there's good
heavily
and bad. So I'm
skeptical
like,
I
of
look.
its
I
quality.
think that if Nintendo is managing the quality, I am not that worried about it. It's Illumination is just an animation studio. As long as their creatives are kept in check, that is the most important thing here.
I can't wait for the Mario fart jokes.
The minions
as
to
much
pop
as
up.
I think it's like not that good of a company, their animation is fine.
Yeah,
when
their
it comes to how
animation
their
is
movies
totally fine.
actually look.
Yeah, their
So it's like-
animation is fine, but I am not a fan of their models, and some
No.
of the lighting that they do is terrifying. I hate it.
Yeah.
They
And
got
that
so
also reminds
lazy.
me, back on the topic of like cut content for a second, but like cut movie content. We're never gonna see the original
Bloopers.
Sonic movie, are we?
No.
No.
Oh, the original cut? No, absolutely not. And
I
I
mean, there's
want
if I'm being honest, there's probably very little actually there, and we'd probably be disappointed.
I don't
Very
know, because
close.
from what I understand, the movie was actually very far along. It was delayed an entire year.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of conflicting stories. Some people saying it was very far along, others saying that it actually wasn't very far, especially the CG part specifically wasn't very far along. So what we'd see might not be nearly as satisfying or as interesting as the end result.
Right.
Well,
I'm glad we got to see baby CG Sonic, the original. That was terrifying.
I hate it.
Oh.
It's
A little rat monster.
but,
Why
like,
did they
imagine
think it was a good idea?
how Tails would have looked freaky.
Oh yeah. Don't even get me
I
started on
like the
Knuckles.
Tails design at the end too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, ugh. I
Actually
didn't want to
watched the
think about that.
movie.
You just made me start thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry.
the Sonic movie turned out surprisingly well. I didn't love it, but I think there's respect there for the source material. I do kind of just hope they drop the whole going to Earth thing in the future. Keep Jim Carrey as Eggman and just stay the hell away from Earth because I'm so sick of cartoon character or video game character gets transported to our world and shenanigans
Road
happen
trip.
with some random white
They
guy.
never
and
do it well.
I'm just so tired of that. Like, so many live action adaptations do that, and I'm sick of it.
I swear, if Mario goes to the real world, I'm boycotting both of those
God,
companies.
no! What would be the
They're-
point of having
I will-
Illumination at that point? No!
Destroy them both.
Yeah, no, I would too.
That reminds me how the best parts of Sonic X were the parts that weren't in the real world.
Oh yeah,
The
that
only-
last season
That's true.
was pretty great.
That was the only good season of
It was
that
the only,
show.
yeah, it really was the only good season. Although I did like their adaptations of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, but other than that, yeah, that show was pretty
Yeah.
bad for the most part.
That mostly just goes to show that, you know, some people will put up with trash if they get to see some of their favorite things in animated form.
They do.
Nostalgia
They
is
really
powerful.
Yeah,
I love
nostalgia's
Sonic X
powerful.
mostly just because I watched it as a kid.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
It was great as a kid. It was baby's first anime. It was
Yeah, honestly.
looking back on it, garbage. But you know what? I like the way they handled Sonic characters, like Sonic himself, well.
Yeah,
It
at the
looked
very
nice.
least, they kept true to everyone's character, and that's the best part.
I think Knuckles was a highlight. I fucking love
Mhm.
Sonic X Knuckles. I just love
I
Knuckles.
love Knuckles.
He better be
I don't think
emo.
there's been a bad animated Knuckles, because Knuckles is just always good.
Yeah.
Knuckles can't be bad. He's
He
just
can't
I
be,
love.
no.
I think my
Actually,
favorite-
Sonic Boom cartoon.
I like.
The
I
Sonic
love
Boom
that.
Yeah,
cartoon
yeah,
was
That
Knuckles
was
is
actually
pretty
good.
pretty good.
underrated, and Knuckles was like the best.
Knuckles was
Yeah.
really good in that
Like,
one,
sure,
yeah.
But
even
like
though he
Tails
isn't
was
really
funny
Knuckles,
too.
Mhm.
like, even though
No, no,
Knuckles
no, he's
isn't
Knuckles
really
to me.
Knuckles, like, it's still Knuckles. Like,
It's still
even
Knuckles
though
at
Sonic
its
Boom
core.
Knuckles isn't, like, actual Knuckles, Boom Knuckles is still Knuckles.
You know what?
Everyone
I
loves
don't want to get
Knuckles.
too off track, But I would like to just make one small comment and say, if you want to take a series in a more comedic direction, Sonic Boom is absolutely the way to go about doing it, not Teen Titans
100%.
Go or Thundercats Roar. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I'm
Yeah,
tired
just
of
don't
seeing a
make it
Thundercats roar.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, like
I
don't
always
act like
forget it exists.
don't act like your new series that's like different from the original series is so much better, and like don't diss the fans of the original. Like
Yeah, don't
Sonic,
just do that.
like
It's not funny.
Sonic Booms is definitely not at all similar to regular Sonic, but they made themselves on their
It's
own
still a
thing.
fun show, and there's still
And
love
they
for
have
the source
respect
Yeah.
material
for
there.
the fans of the
Yeah,
other series.
and the respect too.
Yeah,
Anyways, though, we got really off topic.
We
Any
did, we
other,
did.
like,
We always
Yeah.
do.
Any
We
last
did,
thoughts?
but it was like okay because that was kind of like the last topic we had.
It was, yeah. That's. I think it was a good way to round things out.
Yeah. Any final notes from anyone?
No, it's. I'm pretty happy with today's conversation.
That was
I
all
think
good.
I am-
You guys ready to end this out?
Yeah, let's
Yeah, I think
go ahead
Yeah.
and do the outro.
All right. Well, this has been the Birdwatch podcast. I hope you all had a good time. Bye-bye.
Had a
Baba
fantastic time. Have a good one,
Yeah.
everybody.
Papa
Good
Booey.
one.
Baba Booey.